Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 204, and today we're going to be doing battle with Trundle Timelines. And so, if you're not familiar with it, the Trundle Timelines deck or the Concurrent Timelines deck is completely centered around the Concurrent Timelines. We design our entire game plan around this card, that when we summon our first unit of the turn, we get to then manifest that into something else. And so if you're not familiar with how the rules on this work, you play the Timelines, then you play a unit that has a summon ability, say like Vulpine Wanderer. You still get the card out of the summon ability, and then you get to swap the unit into something better. And so we're playing a lot of really heavy value-based units like the Vulpine Wanderer and the Pharaoh's Financier, with the idea being that we're going to get to swap them into something better, and then we aren't really taking any punishment that we would normally get in the terms of stats as we're trying to shoot for these generated cards. And so the big unit, first and foremost, that has always been used with the concurrent timelines is with Trundle and the Ice Pillar. The Ice Pillar is a 8 mana landmark that when it comes into play, it gives you that 8 mana back and then does some other stuff. And so the general big play that you're getting out of this deck was playing the 8 cost iceberg, ice mark, Iceland, whatever. You're playing the 8 mark Iceland, right? And then you're getting to swap that into a good unit, typically an 8/8 overwhelm, and then you got the mana back to do what as you wish with it. Now, with the release of the Darkened Saga, the big addition to this style of deck has been the improvise unit. So we have both Piltover Castaway and Combat Cook, with the idea being that you play this unit, it then gets the equipment attached to it, and then we still get to swap it into something else. And so if you think of a 4 cost unit typically having about 9 stats, where the Combat Cook only has 4, we can hopefully get that +4, +5, +6 stats on it once we swap this, and then we still get to keep that forged equipment. And so that's been the kind of general idea for the Trundle Timelines deck for the past few patches or so. The addition of the improvised stuff really ties in with Vi, since you can give Vi Overwhelm after that and get some lethals that way. But we haven't really explored the Trundle Timelines deck since the release of the Darkened Saga Domination. And the big addition that we get to the deck like this is going to be everyone's favorite card from the new set, the RNG Master here, the Fanclub President. And so much in the same vein, as we're looking at with the Combat Cook, to where we play a very small 2 cost card, we're looking to upgrade this into 9 or 10 stats, and then we'll still get to do the manifest for the 5 cost card, set its cost to 2. And so that is the big addition from this set. But as I'm currently trying to wrap my head around this meta, trying to come up with the ways to deal with the various pantheons and veins of the world, it tends to be the Unforgiving Cold, which is exceptionally strong. And so I've been looking towards Freylord these days, looking for additional ways to get the Unforgiving Cold into our deck, whether or not that's playing Varus or playing Freylord or playing Kayn. And I'm looking to use the Unforgiving Cold in this deck. This is the one to where we're naturally just playing a bunch of improvised units anyways, and so it's not a huge and painstaking ordeal to fit the Unforgiving Cold into our deck, and it does give us a nice bit of stall against the aggro decks, and then it can hopefully shut down the big OTKs coming out of the tumble decks and out of the various Varus decks. And so this is our update to Trundle Timelines with the Darkened Saga Domination patch. I hope you're ready for it. I'm ready, so let's jump on in. You all know the first thing we have to do, though. I certainly haven't leveled up the Fanclub President. We haven't been playing any Seraphine here, and so the Fanclub President hasn't gotten the premium treatment, but she's ready to go now, ready to generate us some of those premium spells. I'm on board with it. This is going to be some good stuff. And so, let's head on into battle. I just have to say it once and get it out of the way. Concurrent timelines got nerfed not because it takes too long when you have to manifest every turn of the game, but because it's too much RNG involved, right? There's too much RNG involved in the concurrent timelines. As we come up against Seraphine generating cards, Victor generating cards, Fanclub President generating cards. It's not absurd. It's not absurd. And so it's tough. I know. Our Mount Targon, our Targon's Peak, whatever that card is called, our concurrent timelines, it's a real rough day. But here with this start, with the nerf to timelines, it is kind of painful in this exact spot, right? Ideally, we would be able to play the timelines on turn 1, the Wanderer on turn 2, get the stance swap, and then start swapping the unit. Can't quite do it this way since the concurrent timelines cost 2, but we could start moving forward from here on out. And so we'll drop the timelines. We can swap out the Urchin into hopefully something better, and then we'll go from there. I mean, we could just pass this turn. I mean, we have the question is, like, are we going to be picking up a 3-drop, right? We have a 4, we have a 5, we have a 6, we technically have an 8. It's got to be a matter of, do we feel good about hitting a 3-drop next turn? And I think it's okay to just go ahead and drop here. We'll cycle away the Urchin, because if we had another 2-drop as well, then we'll still be fairly happy with our play of the Urchin. What you got for us? No 3-drops in sight. It's okay, though. We'll be able to Mystic Shot from here, and then, again, we're pretty well lined up to go 4, 5, 6. Get those big spells going. What you got for us? Haunted Relic. Sure. So we'll drop in the Fanclub President. Not the greatest collection of spells here. I don't really want the Heedless Resurrection. I think we'll just go with the Siphoning Strike so that we have a bit of interactivity. And then we just want to pick the biggest unit out of these. We could look to the Basilisk Rider to get a shutdown on Seraphine, or the Cultist has the most stats. I'm leaning towards just going with the Basilisk Rider, but we can always just put like a different unit in front of Seraphine, or just take the damage or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. It's going to say he probably doesn't want to attack with her anyways. Uh-oh, making the big thoughts. Are you going to disintegrate our ambitious cultist? I can't wait to find out. Wuju style. Oh my gosh. He's going full aggro on us. Okay. Very, very important fallen feline to have laying around. I gotcha. God, Riptide Sermon, you lost your 4 point of damage just a little bit too soon. I'm really curious what the format would look like if we were dropping 4 damage Riptide Sermons onto Seraphines. But here, not super interested in getting Trundle down this turn. He's not the most important unit to get down. We are interested in the pillar, but that we've got a couple of turns before that rolls around. And then we do want to pick up the Overwhelm. We don't have Vi just yet, but I'd much rather have the Overwhelm than the Pot of Pain, assuming Vi turns up at some point this game. That's pretty sweet too, right? When we put the Ambitious... I was like, where did this Glimpse Beyond come from? It's because we have the Ambitious Cultist just straight up on the board and we equipped afterwards, so we still got the spell. It's pretty sweet if you ask me. Maybe you don't think it's sweet, but old FTP Bust does. Alright, here comes the squad. Keep expecting Ezreal to turn up in here. It's like I worry about just getting OTK'd by this guy with the Ezreal, but he's not turning up just yet. he's not in the deck whatsoever, so I assume that we're not going to see old Ezreal turn up. That's a little much. Let's go ahead and take down the cat. I don't suspect this Grenadier's going to do a lot if opponent doesn't want it to, right? He can come in with a Homecoming. He can come in with a... he can't play. I keep thinking they're going to be playing Disintegrates. I'm so used to these decks being centered on Ezreal, but I think that's a nice round for us. We can leave Seraphine on the board. She's not that scary. Kind of like to keep the Siphoning Strike so we can potentially shoot down a Victor. Opponent brings in the bar. Should be a fairly safe turn after that. Let's just go for the big one, right? It's interesting, though. Would we rather have Virna or the Captive Yeti? I think we want the Yeti. If it does get homecominged or sent back to our hand or whatever, then we do have a real shot at just playing this on the cheap. It's to where Virna's just not going to get played the rest of the game. Tellstones for Aftershock? That's fine. I'm locked and loaded. I'm ready to get this Siphoning Strike off onto Seraphine. She's not even like that important right now, though. I mean, we could just Siphoning Strike the back alley Barkeep so we still have good attacks. Yeah, well. Now that she has the flip, we can't feel that way. Be gone, please. Dang. Pretty painful. Guess we should have gone for the beam. That's brutal. At least he's down to 4 cards at this space. Alright, well, I'll lead in with the Aftershock. Not too much to worry about from him that he can't just play at fast speed, but I want to go ahead and get this thing off the board. Then we'll follow up with the Castaway. So if things go absolutely wrong, right, we should still be able to play the Castaway, get that attuned mana in, and then come in with the Thermogenic Beam. He's just gonna play another one, isn't he? Just gonna play another one. It's a pretty big Darkwater Scourge. It's kind of tempting to go for it. I don't really care about keeping these units on the board. Maybe we just go for the Buru Sentinel. He has the opportunity for growth, but shooting backups to 20 feels reasonable against the deck that has a bunch of burn in it. Can't remember if that high note he played earlier was actually Seraphine. No, it was a regular one. Okay. Alright, well, I'm still going to bring it. Get these things off the board. It has been brought. It's like the real bummer at this point is we really need to kind of get the Trundle thing going, but the Victor's huge. Surprised he didn't hit Spell Shield. That's the way it just typically goes. But, I mean, at least next turn we will have 10 mana, right? So we can play Trundle, we can play a 5 mana Beam, potentially take down the Victor. Buried in the Ice is another way to go about it. I have to see. We unfortunately don't have the we don't have the Ithit Stairs or the 5 mana or the Aftershocks or whatever to try and bury it in the Ice Victor and then just hit everything across the board. Let's take down Seraphine. We still have answers to Victor, right? Seraphine doubling up every spell he plays. Now he's drawing 4 cards. That's a lot to overcome. We can still do it here, but that's tough. Like, I don't really expect that these buried in the ices are going to be successful. He's just gonna he's gonna have a deny. All right, at least the unit has been dealt with. Here's a doubled Victor, sure. Oh, that's not your second one? That makes sense. Oh my god, this cat. We got plenty of time. This guy's gonna take forever, and so I gotta imagine the game's done at this point. But this cat keeps trying to jump up here, so I try to pick her up and she runs away. It's pretty standard. Oh my god, you're so heavy. Now he's gonna jump down. What else we got? All right, let's be real. We can we can sit here for another 10 minutes, or we can finish off this this 2% chance to win. Like there is opportunity there, right? If you're playing in a tournament, then sure, go for your go for your iceberg and follow up with the buried in the ice and see if you can do it. But for the sake of time, we'll just go ahead and cut that 13-minute game out and not sit through it anymore. All right, on to the next one. Sorry for those of y'all wanting to get 8 games in today. It's not going to happen anymore. It's just not going to happen. Looks like the Q's not going to work either. There we go. Right, the opposite end of the spectrum, the Z Hecarim. What do we got here? Got to hang on to our early stuff. Typically, you want to mulligan pretty hard for the concurrent timelines. The deck is so centered on it, but I think we have to just keep these early game plays against Zed. The Vulpine Wanderer are not the most spectacular of them, but the 1 mana AoE can be quite important. Just going to discard Trundle here. We're never getting to turn 5. Trundle says, "F that, dude. You're not getting rid of me today." All right, no timelines. We'll get the Wanderer down. Right, he kills things like Shadow Apprentice. If they have the 1 costs, if they play like a Haunted Relic, it kills off those little guys. It gets a non-zero amount of things against this deck. Interesting. I mean, he has to know, right? All right, we'll take it. That struck me as very odd, the sequencing that happened there. You're typically going to follow that up with a summon of some sort. Okay. Interesting. So I'm going to drop the Fanclub president. We have to worry a little bit about him like slow playing a Zed, but I think that the thermogenic beam will hopefully just be enough. Very interesting picking up Bellows Breath, getting a double AoE. Not quite good enough against an Onslaught of Shadows, but might have some usage at some point in this game. Yeah, can't take block here. I was hoping to just get a little bit more attack power so that we could potentially take down a Field Musicians, but didn't quite come together. All right, easy peasy. Let's just prevent all the damage we can. Got faith in you, Bellows Breath. You're gonna have a big day today. you're gonna boom him real good. Now let's see here. We realistically need to just get as many units on the board as we can. I kind of like the Castaway, in that things like the quick attack one aren't terrible. Combat Reel's not terrible. We can still get a decent Forge this turn, so it's not horrible. We'll lose our Fanclub president in the process, but get a big unit out of the Castaway. Curious what he would pull back there. Put something on the board and pull it back. It's not like it's a vengeance. Interesting. Rocket barrage. Should have played around that. Okay. Wings of the Cryo Phoenix, not terrible. We can actually cast it next turn, and so if he goes wide on us again, we'll have some opportunities to just AoE out the board. Might be alright. Might be alright. Famous last words. That's probably enough. We do leave ourselves open to whatever he has left in his hand, but it's going to have to, like, the way it's going to have to be bad is he has to have, like, a Onslaught of Shadows or a Haunted Relic to spend some of this spell mana in addition to another unit. So it's like, if he just plays Zed, it's not that bad. Oh my gosh, he just doesn't do anything? Oh, disaster for you, bro. Disaster time. So now we're back to a spot where we can get 2 units on the board. We can drop Trundle, we can drop the Tavern Keeper. Hopefully that's enough to have the good blocks lined up next turn. Got the interactivity and the Mystic Shot. Definitely on board with this stuff. And it stairs. What a beauty. So let's pass for the moment, see if he adds anything else. If he adds more, we can play It That Stares. It's just kind of an awkward spot with, like, we take this small AoE and then he gets the Shark Chariot right back. Where I think we're pretty okay in this space. Had to stop and see if I couldn't remember if Revna boosted units in your hand, and I wanted to boost up the Ice Pillar. Not the way that it works, but we're about to get a real big board. This upcycled Rake Trundle should be doing quite a bit of work as well. But we'll lead with the President if we, like, really need to get a you know, more blockers on the board or whatever. I want to have access to them, or if we need to play the spells and the binding. But doesn't look to be the case. Thought we had mana for Revna, but addition is not something I'm good at. We can still bank up 3 mana here and be in a pretty great spot, though. Take that big scout attack. You could technically get into some shenanigans with, like, Cosmic Binding and stunning it, but I think that's a little overboard. Sure. Down to 1 card in Zed now. I'm feeling pretty good about this.
Nothing stops us. Not cold, not death.
Zed's not going to be a happy boy about blocking any of this stuff. All right, GG. That was a little easier than I expected it to be. That should be a fairly weak matchup, but we got it. We did it without the timelines as well. Feels good. Feels good. That's one of the things to remember with this deck is it's not just a giant coin flip, right? You don't say, oh shit, I didn't draw my timelines, I can't win. There's a couple of different stages to it. You have a lot of games that you can just win with Overwhelm Vi. If you improvise and Overwhelm and slap it on Vi, it's an easy way to win. And then there's a lot of games as to where if you don't play it until, say, like turn 5 or turn 6, it's of course not awesome, but you aren't missing out on a ton. You're still getting a lot of value out of the just good cards that we're playing. And so it's not... you don't have to feel like, oh fuck, I didn't draw my timelines, the game's just over. But with this, I am going to go for a full mulligan on it. There's not a ton of stuff in Fiora Pantheon that Mystic Shot will actually kill. So we will dig a little deeper for the timelines here. You forgot your 1-drop, bro. They always have it, right? Seems like you forgot it. Alright, let's kill stuff where we can. Alright, and unless we draw timelines, I'm really planning on just 3-banking this turn. Adding the Kindly Tavern Keeper doesn't do a ton. And then if we're going to roll into the next turn and start playing like Fanclub Presidents, I would like to have the mana to get it on board. How do we feel about the Mountain Goat now? I think this is okay. Like this certainly seems like a hand where he's going to be like heavy on Fiora and stuff, but I don't think I care about Fiora. Let's just pass. If everybody's passing, I think we're in good shape. He's gonna play like a Fiora or something here, though. He's got to get those targets up for Pantheon, so he needs to be adding units to the board. All right, what do we want out of these? Probably just the removal spell. Portal Palooza is pretty tempting, though, just to get some dudes on board. It cycles. All right, fine. All right, fine. Let's go. Let's go full RNG on the day. Say, hey, Bust, how much RNG do you want today? All of it. I'll take all of it. Okay. Can I sign up for exactly that much? Alright, he shouldn't be able to interact with our Trundle. I don't want to just be like blocking Pantheon with Trundle, right? Our opponent may be, a little scared of this idea, but it's too easy for him to have a combat trick that'll kill our Trundle. So we're going to hold him back. Want any of this stuff? We need to cycle something away. Could get rid of the Ithit Stairs, but I mean, we have the combo in hand. If we want to say next turn on turn 7, play Buried in the Ice, turn 8, blow up all the landmarks, I think that's probably a pretty reasonable thing to be looking towards. So we definitely want to bank at least 2 mana on this turn, right? So that we can get the Buried in the Ice going. So let's see. Let's Portal Palooza. That's a way to find the units. I think I'm on board with this. Yeah, opponent dug it. We get him to spend some combat tricks this turn. I think I'm pretty okay with it. Just try and keep this Pantheon worn down a little bit. Now we'll see how much he spends. We have the Mystic Shot to potentially take him down. Not anymore. Not anymore. All right. Seems like a decent place to stop. Oh shit, that spell shield's permanent? Fuck. Oh fuck, we messed this up. We messed that up. How do we go about this now? I thought the Yulia, she used to just last until the end of the turn. It's not the way she works anymore. Whoops. We can still try and go big next turn. Not to say that we can't say play Vi here, and then get a Buried in the Ice next turn, then try and just kill all of his dudes. Like, I'm on board with killing all of his dudes. Alright, let's pass. And Cam 4. Cam 4 is more problematic. Ugh. we've played this game exceptionally poorly. Exceptionally. I think we'll be okay. He's going to get the hook into Vi, but not excited about it. Okay. Brutal, just brutal. Trying my best to throw this one away. Trying my best.
Patience, cautious, and quiet. This is our vein.
See where that goes. Give him a little bit of a bait. There's a chance that he plays another spell shield onto Pantheon, but I think I'm okay with it at this point. Do we have to worry about... forget that there's all these cards now. Maybe we... He has a... He's picked up another spell shield, didn't he? Yeah. F. We messed this all up so good. We can still get out of this for a turn, but... this is a pain in the ass. I don't think we could fuck this up harder if we tried. I don't think that's a possibility. And of course, we haven't hit any equipped units yet this game, so we can't quite get a double flash freeze here. And he can still faded his Pantheon this turn, so he's not completely immune to damage on the round, but this does not look good. So what can we hit? We got to find another... He's just going to open on us. We have to find a really quick flash freeze for Pantheon, or we need him to do something dumb. That was tough. It spiraled out of control there a little bit. I think that it was still okay. The problems that we had there were all tied into the spell shields and me not being familiar enough with this deck. And so what should have happened there was I thought that the Yulia was, again, until the end of the turn and not permanent. And so we had the mana to where we could still just Mystic Shot the Pantheon and then go for the Buried in the Ice on the next turn. But I didn't foresee that Yulia coming down, and so we got kind of screwed when we played the Zonite Urchin. And so that game, I think we would have been 100% and completely fine if we just didn't play that Zonite Urchin. We go into the following turn with 11 mana, and then we would have been able to Buried in the Ice plus Mystic Shot, right? We would have had 8 mana plus 2. I think it would have been right in there. Or we had the mana at least to Mystic Shot the Pantheon on the turn before, and then still have 2 mana banked up for the next turn. I don't remember how it worked exactly, but I know we had the mana. And so that was mistake number 1. Then on the following turn, I'm still kind of okay with Camphor taking down our Vi, but that should have most definitely been a turn to where we were playing Buried in the Ice. It takes so much from an opponent to try and get around it, even if they have, say, like an additional spell shield. We should be in pretty good shape at that point. And everything kind of fell apart from there. So we had to switch from Buried in the Ice to playing Vi. And then on the following turn, I made that whoopsies again, as to where I didn't save up enough mana to protect against the spell shields, and it all fell apart. And so that one was rough. I like to keep those games into the mix since, it's easy to just like fire up a stream with Mage and Bay and assume that they never misplay, or watch other people on YouTube who cherry pick all their games, and you never have to see them go through something as egregious as that. There's some, hit and miss in terms of the style that I put these videos together in. And I think that that's at least one of the perks. I don't cut that shit out. I don't want everyone in the world thinking that no one in Masters makes mistakes ever, and it feels kind of bad if you make one yourself. You just gotta. The thing I say with mistakes are you can't get yourself in the mindset that you're going to like fix it in front of your friends, right? That's typically the place where disasters start to happen is when you get yourself in this mindset that you don't want your friends to think that you fucked up and you have some kind of exotic play that makes it look like what you did is actually the proper thing. And then it's just a fucking train wreck from there. And so just stop yourself, say, okay, we messed up. This is what the board looks like now. How do we improve this board and potentially get a win? But here, what we're trying to do this game, he's going to play the Rumble on the next turn. I would like to both kill all of his small plays and pop Rumble's spell shield. And so I just played the Vulpine Wanderer. I didn't add anything except the timelines. And we should be in a good spot to get a reasonable shutdown here. He discarded Great Hammers as well out of that. That's kind of interesting. I guess he doesn't need it with all of the Reforges, but worth noting that he did. All right, let's heal it back up. See what we can find for next turn. Do we ever want Hunting Boar? I mean, can't block is a real negative here. I don't think opponent ever blocks the thing. I think he's just going to be a bad 2-1 for the rest of the game. So we'll take the Lizard. All right, now we definitely need to be getting an equipped unit. We need to double Frostbite next turn so that we can work down the Rumble. Oh, man. There's a Crocolith. I was going to say, well, I want to take the combat reel here because I feel like the mana's going to be a factor here. We're never going to get a big Vi going. But, man, we have the Vi in hand. And then we just hit the Crocolith. And so that's tough. That's a tough beat.
To serve the greater good. Listen and learn.
At least we can drop a massive FU to this Rumble next turn in terms of having a blocker. The most massive of FUs, right? Not a little one, just a pretty big one. But the thing to watch yourself out for with Rumble here in terms of spell shields, I make this mistake all the time, is that Rumble has spell shield on level up. And so he's going to take this strike in here onto the Lizard. His Rumble's going to flip, and he's going to have a fresh spell shield on him. And so it's the level 2 side of Rumble has the spell shield that's independent of whatever he discarded to make the front side do stuff. Got the hammers. Alright, don't want Shepherd's Authority. Still want to be able to block this turn. Not a great set of bros on the back end. I guess we'll take the Spirit Leech just because of the stats, but that was pretty weak. So here we pop the Spell Shield with the first, get the Flash Freeze with the second. Now we got a pretty good block.
I'm cold, I'm hungry, and there's rocks in me boots.
Well, I don't think we would have been able to pull off the Overwhelm with Vi. Our unit didn't die, so there's that aspect of it. But an Overwhelm here would be pretty useful. One must agree. And so, at any rate, GG. Okay. Ezreal Seraphine. I feel like we've hit all the highlights of the format now that we're up against this. This is a matchup where we're free to fully mulligan for the timelines. We really need to be hitting it against this one. That's just the deck is so high powered, but they're not doing anything in the early game to make us say like, oh shit, I have to draw a Mystic Shot. Got the Hookmaster. It's kind of tempting to take down.
Sometimes you're the kid.
I mean, I know it's not spectacular here by any means, but our hand just like doesn't do anything else. So let's at least get the unit off of the board. We can maybe get the damage in with the Castaway.
Rather be sailors, but this looks fun too.
Do we get to attack? This would be a neat place to be at 2 mana, right? We do want to continue on our curve. So if we had the 2 mana for the Fanclub president, that would have been kind of nice. Opponent agrees that would have been kind of nice. So shoots it down before the attack comes in. So I'm going to pivot our curve here just a little bit. I'm going to drop the Reggie on this round.
Don't worry about the words. What matters is how you feel.
Then we'll see what turns up. I always see Glorious Evolution and say, that would be a tempting one.
I'm your man.
But I'm okay with this assembly line. It's a set of removal that, or a set of spells that the Ezreal deck doesn't play fantastically against. It's kind of tough to kill the Forge Workers with Mystic Shots, and it puts 2 units on the board, so it's a little bit more for them to work around than usual.
I need you this. Okay, bye. Is this a squirrel pin? This is cute. Hey, come back.
Curious if he goes big and tries to take down the Forge Worker. It's going to be a few more turns before we look to spend mana anyways. Like, we're 100% playing Revna next turn. And then from Revna forward, we can just have the mana where we need it. So we can Fanclub President and still have the mana. I'm not really worried about
World's a big place.
the damage otherwise.
Buckle up.
Interesting Ezreal, though. Feels pretty early.
Have you heard Zon Starlight? I gotta go.
Guess he hasn't really done much, right? He's played 1 new spell. That's it.
One shot, all skill.
Nothing stops us. Not cold, not death.
All right. All our units going to be the real deal from this point forward, though. If we're going to be dropping double Revnas and giving everything the +2/+2. What? Are you serious? We're out here trying our hardest to find the concurrent timelines, and Seraphine just comes in and fucking generates it? This is the dumbest game ever made. Dumbest game ever made.
We were born to rule.
All right, we got a mountain of stats for opponent to deal with now. It's just going to be a matter of, can we get stuff on the board and make them have to actually interact with it before Ezreal's capable of flipping. Again, I'm going to make a 3 attack unit or a 3 health unit. You can't Mystic Shot it. You can't play that double damage thing you just did. You can't high note it. It's a little bit safer than loading up our worst unit in Reggie. That's what we're going to do a lot of times with aggro decks, but here I want to keep our units big. All right, let's see what fun comes out of that. Now again, remember, this deck, too much RNG. Too much RNG in the concurrent timelines, but Seraphine generating concurrent timelines, not too much. Sputtering Song Spinner, not too much. Fanclub President, not too much. All the improvised cards, not too much. And so, I don't know. I don't know if you were able to figure out what was too much or what was not. Trail of Evidence, what does that do? Random. Not too much. Concurrent timelines, too much. I hope you all got caught up on all that. All right, this is done. So again, the 1 card in our deck, too much. The 8 separate cards in their deck, not too much. I don't know. It's like, I'm curious if it was like just a mistake that they printed all this at once, or if the problem that they have in like a non-rotating format, right? This is all cycles back to the rotation. Is that you have to make cards more powerful or they're not going to be relevant. If you print a new set, you release the 60 cards and only like 3 of them make an impact on the format, then that feels pretty shitty, right? And then people are going to just quit buying stuff because it's just a very small amount of things that you would ever need. And so, there's the very real concept of having to print new cards that are good so people replace their old cards with the new cards. Fine with it. Power creep's a thing. The easy way to fix that power creep was just with rotations, right? So there's not 15,000 cards in any given format. There's just a small number of cards, and then the window of comparison is much smaller. And I'm curious if this card's right, they have to work like 6 months, a year in advance. I'm curious if the Darkened Saga was designed and printed and put forth before the idea of rotation was really like locked in, and how much of that ties into what we're seeing here today and what we'll be seeing in the upcoming year in terms of rotations. Because right, if you just print a new set and both Vayne and Seraphine are the absolute top dogs of the format, you know what's going to happen when there's a rotation? Stop and think on that nugget for a little bit. Those are also going to be the top dogs of that next format. And so I'm curious if a lot of this came forth before the idea of the rotation was locked in. But we got another one. The RNG here did not hit, but we'll see. See what happens.
I suppose the lamp is meant to appear disarming.
Dunno. Crossbow meant to keep people at a distance?
Oh, they chit-chat with each other. That's adorable. Sure. Totes adorable, Vayne and Jax. All right, well, he's out of cards at this point, so we don't have to worry a ton about this Thermogenic Beam not working. I think I'm good to just discard the Amulet. Then we're going to spend this last 2 mana to take down Vayne. Not as worried about the Jax at the current point in time. If it comes down to Jax, we can technically kill him next turn if we want to, say, play the Vulpine Wanderer and then 1 damage AoE the board. Doubt he'll be dropping Shepherd's Authorities on him, but you never know.
Patient, cautious, and quiet. This is our Vay.
In with the Combat Cook. Okay.
There's a chef on the team now. What's for dinner? Oh, I spilled tonight's stew in our last battle. Oops.
Uh-oh. Got another catch. Come on. Come on. All right. No attacks. Gotta be ready to block next turn. Anything cool here? Sunburst is probably going to be the best option. Real removal spell. We're not casting any of this stuff in combat. That's fine. Oh.
Just a lamb.
Well then. That does seem fairly positive. I don't care about losing any of these units here. He's going to hook something. Don't care. Can't stop the combat hook, which is a little unfortunate, but we should be kind of safe with Giral and a Sunburst next round and be a little bit safer with the Unforgiving Cold. Might get to just drop that big Ithid stairs, you know? Oh boy, oh boy. RNG City, huh? Take a little bit of Feel the Rush. Can't cast it next turn, but... Oh man, that's looking pretty choice. So do we want to hang on to everything at this point, or do we want to discard the Ithid Stairs, just to make sure we have one more blocker? I think we can wait. It's like the Ithid Stairs not going to AoE this board anymore, but it may be able to AoE the board post-combat. And then if he opens, we still have the opportunity to drop the Frostbite thing. Okay, so those will Frostbite the 2/5s. Now we can Aftershock Jax. And we're still looking to have that 3 mana bank rolling into the next turn. We can still add the Zonite Urchin and 3 bank into next turn. But I don't quite feel like we need to. And he equips in Overwhelm. That's a little scary. Shouldn't have any tricks, right? I guess he could have like a riposte.
Anything else?
Alright. Who's ready for it? Now the downside here is we're gonna drop this 10-10 Trundle, but it's not gonna have Overwhelm because we haven't played an Ice Pillar yet. And so we'll see how this goes. I mean, playing Feel the Rush is certainly better than just playing Vi here, but the Light of Acathia definitely has me worried about what's happening here, right? Him passing out Overwhelm onto something. But, I mean, I guess if we're going to Vi hook in his Challenger, then we should be in a fairly decent spot. That's good stuff, right? That's what the RNG is all about. All right, we'll get one more game in. As I look at the timer, we're at like the 50-some minute mark. We'll try and do one more. Probably going to queue into Seraphine, but... All right, the Nightfall control deck. Beautiful. I'll look for the timelines here. Found it. So I feel like this is game number 7. We've started with the timelines twice, and then we drew it mid-game once. Is that right? Does that sound right to you? We've just been booming people all day with this Vulpine Wanderer. That's what I'm really hype about. He's been bringing the serious heat this set of games. So many juicy AoEs. I think I'm gonna hang on to the Urchin here. I'm not entirely sold on wanting to spend the Wanderer. Okay, let's take Combat Reel. Not doing scout attacks anytime soon. Sparklefly, quite strong. This seems like the kind of fellow that's probably playing Hush, but you know, it's a pretty strong unit right there. And he pulls it back. What's he pull back? All right. Well, if we get got, we get got. I'm going for it. Oh, just a Vile Feast? That's it? That's all you're bringing? Okay. Wonder why I didn't wait till after combat.
Calm mind and open heart greet Chosen of the moon.
And
Focus
Diana.
to her gentle light.
Okay, so we need the 3 health units out of this one. Take the Sandhopper, heal up the Sparklefly. Should be enough to shut down Diana. He has a Pale Cascade, and that's fine. I'm happy enough to Unforgiving Cold. This Vi is not particularly choice right now, but I'm interested. I'm tempted. Let's let her level up a little bit. This is another interesting spot, right? I'd like to put the upcycled Rake onto Vi, but the Sandsworn Amulet's quite good against this board of do-nothings.
That's all we got? Hey, I've done more with less.
It comes down to really wanting the Overwhelm. We can't get it from the Vulpine Wanderer, so many options coming out of him. You don't appreciate the amount of work those Udyr cards do until you do a little bit of battle with Udyr. It's curious. I'm curious why he keeps targeting down our Sparklefly. It's not like he's playing Zoe or something. All right, onward. Here, like, I know we just drew Aftershock. I'm not particularly worried about this Diana. If he, like, quick attack challenges down a Sandhopper or this Scout thing, I don't really care. If he hooks down the Sparklefly, I don't really care. I want to save this Aftershock for Aphelios. Turns out Aphelios is one I do care about. She's at 2 Nightfalls, so she may be fairly safe to take down with Mystic Shot. Let's see what happens. If this fails, it's not the end of the world. Fail, it does not. Like, how do we get this Scout equipment onto Vi? I feel like we've had some Timelines games, we've had some non-Timelines control decky games. We just haven't pulled off the one I talked about to where we give Vi Overwhelm and come in and crush. It's like this is one of the tougher matchups to do it in, since they have like Hushes, and I'm sure he has Vengeances or Sunbursts. He probably has a lot of ways to deal with a Vi, but all right, let's throw her down. He's got all this mana, so it's a little scary, but I don't think we're worried about like Sunburst since he just played the Vile Feast. I think we're like reasonably safe. The big concern there would be like opponent just dropping an attack. All right, let's drop in the Wanderer. He's a little bit of an easier upgrade than the Zonite Urchin. Now we can Urchin away the timelines. See where it gets us.
Rock got me good.
Ah, there we go. You knew there was some kind of shenanigan afoot. Combat Cook's still good enough on his own, though. Alright, let's get him for 5, bro. Get in there. Oof, the Ruination. Not very nice, my friend. Not very nice. You are not Mr. Friendlier. One could say that you are Mr. Meaner. One could say. You could put it out there. Put it forth.
Anything helps.
Alright, all in all, kind of lame. I think I'm okay with the Unforgiving Cold on this round. Like, it's really tough for us to get a better one. So, we get to weaken up the dragon. It's going to have some opportunity to overwhelm through it. I mean, I guess we could just Aftershock it at this point. Let's get to spewing. 3 damage coming at you, bro.
Come and get it.
Got him. Alright, I'm ready for regular attack time.
And here's where I'd paint my constellation.
Alright, we'll take the amulet. Anything useful out of these? Not particularly. We can up the Coastal Defender just a little bit, but the Legion Veteran has the same base attack. Really just like to see opponent play some stuff that's not relevant, so we can get kills with the Stance Swap or the Fish Whack. Phelios is a minor problem. Wonder what he would have taken here. 3 damage to unit makes a little sense. Double stun makes a little less sense. I could see him, if he feels like he's safe with like a Hush or something, I could see him looking to pick up the unit summon. Interesting.
Oh, you're interesting.
He opts for the do nothing route. Got a vengeance. Okay. Well, we're close to lethal. That's often not the place you want to be up against a Phelios, but we're close. And then a thing we could potentially look to pull off this game is going to be getting a fearsome attack in with the Unforgiving Cold. We have fearsome in hand with the Sandsworn Amulet. We have fearsome on the board with our Cutthroat, and so we have a couple of potential plays there to where we can come in and get a kill with a fearsome. See what happens. He's picked up double stun in hand. It's tough. I don't want to just drop the Stance Swap and then he hits us with double stun. Alright, scout unit in. I wish that was on I wish that was on the elusive, but it's a little greedy. Oh, he just takes it? Alright. Alright, here's the land of opportunity. Start off with a little RNG. You want drum solo? That seems awful tasty. I could see an argument for Defiant Dance, but I think it's going to be a little bit too slow. I don't think Detain is like the winning answer. Let's pick up drum solo. Maybe that'll be good next round. If we played a 6-cost spell? I don't think so, but we probably still just want the elusive.
Are you all online for tickets too?
We have not. Let's bring in more stuns. What you got? Aftershock, Tavern Keeper. Alright, let's go for this Aftershock. Phelios down. Opponent still has a fuckwad of mana here. not feeling good about any of this, but you know, we're climbing back in. Dang, the unit's big enough to get through the amulet. I think we'll switch. We'll switch to a Fish Whack. Ugh.
Full of pain.
That's pretty good. All right, next round. Let's see if we can do it. We're fighting hard. We're powering through. I believe in us. We can deal with like a giant celestial. I don't give a fuck about that. We still got the unforgiving cold if we need it. Probably gonna have to spend it this round. We're gonna need to try and just get width on this guy. Give the pot of pain, that does damage. Any of these, another option for fearsome, but it's like now we're going to be losing our unforgiving cold. So I'm gonna go with the Legion Marauder. He should have the most stats coming out of this. I think we're gonna bamboozle him with the Kindly Tavern Keeper onto the Lounging Lizard. So I feel pretty good there. So how can we set up the lethal with our 2 elusives? I don't know, he doesn't have so many cards in hand, he just played that Celestial thing. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Leave your bags in the door.
I think I'm just going to try and start with a Scout attack. It should be enough for a lethal. Oh, it's 1 short. I think that's okay. And I guess realistically, if we slow our roll just a little bit, say the warrior is going to come in and take down one of our elusives, we can just ignore the other guys, right? We don't have to actually care about those. And then we can look to circle around next turn and make that fearsome style play. He brings in the Trickster. Not a bad hit. I think that's where we're going to lose both of our units at this point, right? No, just 1. Oh, is he not going to hook our elusives? Oof. Oof. Okay. Okay, here it is. I'm gonna hold the stance swap in hand. Right, can we do that? I mean, probably not, let's be real. So Fishwhack comes in. I'm gonna put +2/+2 onto the Sky Cruiser. So now we have 2 units that he needs to really deal with. Oh, this isn't going to be lethal. The Sky Cruiser's not lethal into the Trickster. Okay. It's too late to call it back now. I'm curious if we should have like flipped around the order we were putting this stuff down. All right, squeeze your cheeks, boys. Did you squeeze them? Are you primed and ready? Peak butt squeeze. He hasn't given up yet. Fuck. Okay. Alright, we're still lethal. He's digging. He's digging hard. Okay. Okay. Good stuff right there. Good stuff. GG, Mr. Friendly. The victory is ours. All right. So yeah, not a bad set of games. Of course, the Timelines deck is still around, still a thing. The Seraphine matchup isn't great, but you know we handled ourselves pretty reasonably there. I feel like when you're going out and looking at a lot of the stats in the game right now, like I'm curious what the recommended list is. And I bet it A, doesn't include the Unforgiving Cold. It looks like this one does. And this one also has Fanclub President. Is this just our exact list? Oh, no, he's playing Seraphine. This is some kind of Seraphine Trundle list. That sounds stupid. But I was curious if a lot of the deck lists have indeed moved up to playing both the Unforgiving Cold and playing Fanclub President, because that's just where we're at with this deck at this current state. As I was doing the research on the deck lists, looking at some of the popular ones online, they hadn't really updated yet. And so, it's definitely a thing. This is definitely a deck. I'm curious if this doesn't have a bit of space in best of 3 to where you can just ban out Seraphine and then have a reasonably strong deck kind of tuned against the Vayne things with the Unforgiving Colds and the ready, maybe including a second Buried in the Ice, because they just don't have an answer to that. If you get to cast it on turn 6 or turn 7, gives you a bit of play there as well. And so, interesting stuff. I was happy with the power level. I think, again, the big thing to understand with this is the games are still very winnable, even if you don't draw the timelines. But you, of course, most certainly want to. It's just a matter of now kind of piecing together and thinking about how you get these new cards in, how you can control deck them and value them out if the timelines doesn't turn up. And so, that was it. That was fun. I had a good time with that. I hope you did too. And that will do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope you draw your timelines and those dirty Seraphine players don't generate them. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bustin' We. Thank you for being here.